What's up, Disciple Projectors? We're looking at Genesis, the 5th chapter right now. Man, what a great book this is. It's all about the generations of Adam and talking about all the different people who were born to Adam and who Adam begat Seth, and then when he was this 130 years old, and all this kind of stuff. And uh, not a lot of stuff here that we normally look at, but there are a few nuggets that you can find in these chapters where it talks about this one begatting this one, who begat this guy, who begat this guy. One thing I like to do is I like to try and pronounce the names, and sometimes I get tickled at myself at just how horrible I am. I got to remember that that little dash over the top is like the long vowel sound, the little happy face over the vowel is the short vowel sound, and I know they have names for that. And so, but sometimes I start trying to pronounce some of these names, and I do that trick like everybody else does. I try and say them really, really fast, and so maybe nobody knows that I really didn't pronounce them correctly. But let's just read a couple of these. And Canaan lived 20 years and begat Mahalalel. And Canaan lived after he begat Mahalalel 840 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years, and he begat Jared. And Jared, so I just go on, and sometimes I like to try and read them, and sometimes I get them right, and sometimes, more often than not, I get them wrong. And I know in the discussion, introduction of this chapter, Brother Garrett mentions verse 23, and all the days of Enoch were 365 days, and Enoch walked with God. And 24, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. And what a great testimony that. And he referred some scriptures in Hebrews about Enoch also. But we can also, why it's important for us to know the genealogy and study them is we see a direct link from Adam all the way to Christ. And we see a direct link from Adam to all these individuals that are in the Bible, and they can trace their lineage all the way from Adam forward and back. And it is very important. If you remember in Nehemiah, the 7th chapter, and beginning with the 64th verse, this is when everybody came back from Babylon, and they were restoring the priesthood and rebuilding the temple and rebuilding the wall. There were those that wanted to be a part of the priesthood, but they couldn't prove that they were part of the priesthood because they couldn't track their genealogies. And the 64th verse is, these sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy. In other words, they could trace their, I was begat by so-and-so, was begat by so-and-so, begotten so-and-so, all the way to the priesthood, but it was not found. They couldn't find them. Therefore, they were as polluted, put from the priesthood. And the Tirshatha, which in other words is the governor, said unto them that they should not eat of the most holy things till there stood up a priest with the Urim and the Thummim. So because they couldn't trace their genealogies, they weren't allowed to partake of the priesthood. And I've got this really cool book, but to me, you read so-and-so begat so-and-so, and he lived 900-something years, and which is interesting in this chapter. I think the average age of everybody is about 912 years. So on your next birthday, if you're starting to feel old, just remember these guys were 900 and something years old, so you're doing okay for only being 30, 40, 50, 60. So it's the time chart of biblical history. And what's really neat about this book is, we'll try and put this in here so you can see it, is you see right here, it says this is Adam and Eve, and this is Cain and Abel, and then you can trace it. So Cain begat Enos, begat, I could see that backwards. I can't see that backwards. But this, basically, this lineage is from Genesis, the 4th chapter, and then Adam talks about Seth, who gave birth to Enos, and Enos, was walked with God, and then he was not. But Adam continued to live, and these little lines down here represent the scripture that says, and sons and daughters were born unto them. And we'll just, again, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it is kind of interesting when you see it in like a timeline, that how they all overlap. Adam was alive while Seth was alive, while Enoch was alive, while Canaan was alive, and even from this branch, all these people. Until you get all the way over here, there was right here you see the death of Adam, and there was approximately like 126 years from the death of Adam to the birth of Noah. And Lamech was still alive. Here's Noah. And just continue on. This is just kind of interesting stuff when you see it in a timeline, that these individuals were still alive and we're still keeping track of them. Here's Lamech. Here's Methuselah, who lived 969 years, who happened to live the longest. And right here's the flood. And here is Ham, Shem, and Japheth, all the way up to the flood. So it's just kind of some interesting things that we can look at and study, even on the chapters of genealogy, to realize how many people still had interaction and contact with Adam. So that's all I'm going to say about Genesis, the 5th chapter. Thank you for checking in with us. We'll see you next time.